Hello and welcome back to Doctor Who, the cancelled years. In this video we'll be covering season 31 of Doctor Who, so let's get started. Season 31 would have been the fourth season for Richard Griffiths as the Doctor, the second season for Lisa Bauman as Bernice Summerfield, the first for the new companion Robert Bathurst as Chris Hector, the last season for Ian Fraser as producer, and the first season for Colin Brake as script editor. This would be the first season for the new companion Chris Hector, a unit soldier from the modern day. This was also the first season for Colin Brake as script editor. Brake wanted to give the show a shake-up, as by this point the show was now competing with glossy American imports such as Star Trek The Next Generation, so an effort was made to make stories feel a bit more Star Trek-y. And now let's get on with the episodes. The first episode would have been the Zygon Invasion, written by Colin Brake. This would have been a traditional unit story and would have been the first story for new companion Chris Hector. It would have been about a group of Zygons kidnapping important government people and taking their place. They plan to start a world war with the rest of the world while pretending to be them and doing actions that will result in conflict. The story sees the Doctor and Bernice working with Winfred Bambera on finding the Zygon imposters and attempting to stop World War III from commencing. Throughout the story, we see them working with a unit sergeant named Chris, who the Doctor and Bernice get along with very well. Eventually, the Zygons are stopped and the full-blown war is prevented. At the end of the story, the Doctor and Bernice are about to say goodbye to Chris as they prepare to leave. And at the last second, the Doctor offers Chris the chance to come travel with him. Chris accepts and the Doctor invites him on board under the condition that he throws away his weapons. The second episode would have been the Legacy of Peladon, written by Gary Russell. This story would have been set on the planet Peladon from the Jon Pertwee era. The story would have saw the Doctor, Bernice and Chris tracking down a criminal named Nick Reese. They track him down to Peladon and he gets permission from the new king to investigate. The story would have played as a typical alien political type of story, much like Curse and Monster of Peladon. It's also one of the stories that's heavily inspired by Star Trek and feels very Star Trek-y at times. We see a lot of old returning monsters in this story, such as Alpha Centauri and the Ice Warriors. We also would have saw Bernice's affection to the Ice Warriors, as she spent a lot of her life studying them. They eventually discover that Nick is hunting for a weapon named a diadem, a weapon containing an evil and all-powerful entity. However, he's stopped by the Doctor when he fires an EMP at his ship. It destroys the ship, along with killing Nick, destroying the diadem, and killing the entity within. The third episode would have been Return of the Living Dad, written by Kate Orman. This would have been an important episode for Bernice, as it sees her reunited with her father, Isaac Summerfield. Prior to the story, we learn that Isaac was thought by Bernice and her family to be a traitor in the Dalek War. It turns out his ship and his crew fell through a space-time rift and ended up on Earth in the 20th century. With his remaining crew, he set up an organisation that helps alien refugees that come through the rift, named the Pyramid. A lot of the story would have acted as a character piece for Bernice, and we would have learnt a lot more about her father as well as herself. The story would have saw two threats. The first being a government company named C-19, who take and extract the aliens that the Pyramid team don't get to first, and attempt to use their powers for themselves. The second threat would have been a Navarino named Albinex, who wants to revive his racist warrior status, and attempts to invade the Earth by summoning a Navarino ship through the rift. However, both C-19 and Albinex are stopped by the Doctor with the help from Bernice, Chris, and the Pyramid. The fourth episode would have been Family of Evil, written by Rona Munro. This story would have been set on Earth, in a small city in the 24th century. It would have saw the Doctor, Bernice and Chris arriving in the city and discovering it to be in chaos. Everywhere they go, there's gang wars, riots and danger. They discover from a gang of rebels that the city is being controlled by a government-like group named the Family. No one knows their actual name, they're just nicknamed the Family. The three of them sign themselves up as workers for the family house so that they can investigate the family and try to bring some peace to the city. It turns out that the family are exiles from a planet of dark arts and are controlling the population by manipulating their memories with negative thoughts, resulting in mistrust and confusion among the population. The Doctor hijacks the family's central brain control by plugging himself into it and restoring everyone's real memories, while converting the thoughts of evil upon the family themselves. This results in the central brain overloading, which kills the family and destroys the house. The fifth episode would have been Silver Warfare, written by Mark Platt. This would have been a Cyberman story. It would have been about the Cybermen arriving in World War II, however on the German side, and in 1944, where they make a bargain with the Nazis. The Cybermen can offer the Nazis technology so advanced it'll bring victory to all their battles. All they ask for in return are prisoners that they can use in their own war. This would have been a very dark story, as we see the horrors of the war caused by the Nazis when they're given such advanced technology. We also see the horrors of Cyberman conversion, as we see POWs being changed and converted into Cybermen. Eventually, the Doctor is able to defeat the Cybermen and create an EMP that destroys all cyber technology on Earth. This would have been considered one of the best Cybermen stories of all time and really would have pushed the show to its limits. The final episode would have been Goth Opera, written by Paul Cornell. This story would have saw the return of the vampires from State of Decay. The story sees the Doctor, Bernice and Chris in Manchester. The trio get attacked by a baby vampire and ends up biting Bernice, slowly turning her into a vampire. It turns out that one of the Doctor's old friends, Ruith, is trying to resurrect a great vampire named Yavin using the Doctor's blood. The Doctor finds Ruith has become a vampire herself and is attempting to build a machine that freezes time in eternal night to allow the vampires to feed forever. With Bernice now fully turned into a vampire, the Doctor allows her to convert him into a vampire. He is then able to destroy the machine and stop Yavin, and with the help from Chris, he's able to revert him, Bernice and Ruith back to normal. And with Ruith now powerless, the Doctor takes her back to Gallifrey to stand trial for her crimes. And that concludes season 31 of Doctor Who, another really popular season and one of the most popular since the Davison era. And that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll be covering season 32 of Doctor Who. Until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.